At Disneyland, you relive your favorite childhood films. But not all Disney films have stood the test of time. Here are 8 obscure or forgotten films that inspire Disneyland attractions. Starting with number 8, The Wind in the Willows. The Wind in the Willows was originally going to be a feature-length film, but after production delays, it was reduced to a short that merged with The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Together, they were released in 1949 as a package feature-length film, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The main character from the Wind in the Willows segment, Mr. Toad, an amphibian obsessed with motor cars. Inspired opening day Disneyland attraction, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, just 6 years after Mr. Toad's cinematic premiere. Obscure Disney film number 7, Third Man on the Mountain. Walt Disney visited Zermatt, Switzerland, home of the real Matterhorn, and filmed a live-action film, Third Man on the Mountain, based on the 1955 novel Banner in the Sky by James Ramsey Ullman. The film told the story of a young man who dreamed of climbing the most dangerous mountain in the Alps. The story goes that while Walt Disney was in Switzerland, he sent a postcard to a lead Imagineer that said, "Build this." Well, they did. The Matterhorn Bobsleds opened in Fantasyland in 1959. The very same year, the film Third Man on the Mountain was released in theaters, and then soon forgotten. Moving on to obscure Disney film number 6, Swiss Family Robinson. Swiss Family Robinson, the story of a Swiss family who inadvertently lands on an uninhabited island where they build a treehouse for safety and comfort, was a 1960 live-action adventure film that inspired the attraction Swiss Family Treehouse. The walkthrough attraction opened in 1962, 2 years after the movie's theatrical run. The treehouse was later rethemed to Tarzan's Treehouse from 1999 to 2021. But since 2023, the Swiss Family Robinson theme has returned under the attraction's new name, Adventureland Treehouse. Ramping up to obscure Disney film number 5, Song of the South. Song of the South is a 1946 combination live-action and animated film based on the Uncle Remus stories. The film takes place on a plantation in the Deep South during the period of U.S. history just after slavery was abolished. In 1947, the NAACP picketed the movie and released a statement condemning the film for the way it perpetuates a dangerously glorified picture of slavery and gives the impression of an idyllic master-slave relationship, which is a distortion of the facts. Shortly after the film's 1986 re-release in theaters, Disney made the decision to never again release the film theatrically or on any home media in the United States. From that point forward, the film has only been accessible in foreign markets. In 1989, Splash Mountain opened in Disneyland, a log ride based on the animated portions of Song of the South. However, Imagineers modified the troublesome storyline to make it more theme park friendly. Instead of Brer Fox tricking Brer Rabbit into getting stuck in a tar baby, largely considered a racial slur, in the ride he tricks him into getting stuck in much less controversial honey. The attraction closed in 2023 to make way for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, an attraction based on a film much better known by modern audiences, Princess and the Frog. Here are 2 films I bet you've never seen. Obscure Disney film number 4, the Davy Crockett films. In 1954, Walt Disney produced a television series called Walt Disney's Disneyland to promote the upcoming 1955 opening of Disneyland. 5 episodes were dedicated to the story of Davy Crockett. The first 3 of these episodes were edited together into a feature film called Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, released in 1955. The last 2 episodes were edited together into another feature film called Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, released in 1956. The Mike Fink keelboats opened in Disneyland's Rivers of America in December 1955. Based on the last 2 episodes of the Davy Crockett serial, the keelboats were a mainstay on the Rivers of America until they closed for good in 1997. The Indian Village became Bear Country in 1972, and as a result, the Indian War Canoes became Davy Crockett's Explorer Canoes. That same year, the Country Bear Jamboree opened at Disneyland featuring the song The Ballad of Davy Crockett, sung by Henry the Bear and Sammy the Raccoon. The Country Bears had their final performance at Disneyland in 2001 to make way for The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Here's a short film that is on nobody's radar. Number 3, Lullaby Land. Lullaby Land is a 1933 silly symphony that tells the story of a sleepy infant who is transported from his cradle to a dreamland The quilt from the short film inspired the garden section of Storybook Land Canal Boats, while the over 90-year-old short film Lullaby Land is all but forgotten. Keep in mind that it was only 23 years old when Storybook Land Canal Boats first opened in 1956. Despite being a lifelong Disney fan, here's a film I had never heard of. Number 2, Grand Canyon. In 1958, Disney released Grand Canyon, a 29-minute live-action film which accompanied the feature-length animated film Sleeping Beauty in 1959. In a similar way that Fantasia is a visual interpretation of classical music, Grand Canyon is a visual interpretation of Ferdy Groffe's Grand Canyon Suite, inspired by the film. A Grand Canyon diorama was added as an enhancement to the Disneyland Railroad in 1958. Just like Disney's Grand Canyon film, the attraction scene is set to the music of Ferdy Groffe's Grand Canyon Suite. And finally, we've reached obscure Disney film number 1, Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is arguably the least well-known Disney princess of them all. In fact, do you even know Sleeping Beauty's actual name? It's Princess Aurora. Sleeping Beauty is a feature-length animated film that was in development starting in 1950. So when Imagineers were planning for the 1955 opening of Disneyland, they named the park's centerpiece Sleeping Beauty's Castle, in anticipation of the film, which was released 4 years later in 1959. While Sleeping Beauty has never had the popularity of old-school Disney princesses Cinderella or Snow White, the film did inspire 2 Disneyland attractions, Sleeping Beauty Castle Walkthrough and King Arthur's Carousel, when Imagineers were tasked with creating an East Coast version of Disneyland for Walt Disney World in Florida. Sleeping Beauty was no longer a current film that needed to be promoted, so the castle in Florida was named after the much better known Disney princess, Cinderella. Which of these Disney films had you never heard of? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, then you will love these videos about Disney history. Click one and I'll see you there.